Good morning, Santa Fe Chamber. It is a beautiful February 19th. We are almost halfway through this legislative session. Tomorrow, February 20th, is the last day to introduce new pieces of legislation. However, leadership and committee chair people have the ability to reserve spots for particular pieces of legislation. They call them dummy bills, but usually they're not that dumb. They're usually bills that they're looking to coalesce support for some big initiatives, some key things, and needs related to the state. So those are what we need to pay attention to after tomorrow. However, there's over 1,000 pieces of legislation that have been introduced, and there's a few things that have been done, but today is an important day for the business community and the chamber. Today at 1:30, House Commerce and Economic Development is going to entertain and debate House Bill 11, which is paid family medical leave. There are some developments that we need to update everybody on. Most particularly, there's a committee substitute that is going to be introduced, and it's not yet known if there's going to be support for the new committee sub. And you can follow along if you go to www.nmlegis.gov. You go to the top of the page, it says what's happening. Click that, you can see all the committee calendars. If you go right next door to that where it says webcast, you can find that committee and you can listen along and hear the debate related to that bill. I know Bridget is planning to testify against that bill because it's not where it really needs to be. But to kind of give you a special treat today, we'll give you a rundown of what we can hear between the two different bills. So related to House Bill 11, which is called the Paid Family Medical Leave Act, and the committee substitute, which has a different name called Welcome Child and Family Wellness Leave Act. Same idea with a little bit of maneuvering with some premises. So if we're looking at the main purpose, the paid family bill, the original one provides financial compensation for employees that are going to take leave for family, medical, or safety related reasons. Contrary, the committee sub is going to focus more on parental bonding leave, bereavement leave, and care for family members. So it's a little more narrow in scope. If you're looking at the benefits, the original bill is looking to cover family leave, medical leave, safe leave, and qualifying extensive leave. If you're looking at the committee sub, covers welcome child leave, bereavement leave, foster leave, medical leave, qualifying extensive leave, and safety leave. And now let's move on to who's eligible. Really, the eligibility of the original bill is very broad in scope. It applies to employees and self-employed individuals who opt into the program. Similarly, on the committee sub that will be entertained today, its eligibility is a little bit more detailed in provisions for self-employed individuals. One of the key differentiating factors of the two is the duration. So the original bill has 12 weeks per year with a gradual rollout for medical leave over the first few years. The new committee sub is more narrow in scope. It's 6 weeks per year, except for welcome child leave, which allows up to 12 weeks. So as you can see, there's minor improvements that are starting to be made. If we're looking at the funding source, the original bill is a lot more expensive. So contributions at 0.5% coming from employees and employers at 0.4%, increasing after 2030. If we're looking at the committee sub, employees are responsible for 0.2% and employers 0.15%. And then those changes adjust after 2030. So you're starting to see it's a lot more manageable from a fiscal sense as well. So we've already narrowed the duration, we've narrowed the funding source. And then if you're looking at the calculation, it's supposed to be more advantageous to businesses. So the original bill based on the average weekly wages with a cap tied to the state's mean annual wage. If you're looking at the new one, it's fairly similar, but the benefits are at a lower rate, at an increase. Administration stays the same, manned by Workforce Solutions Department, same with the committee substitute. If we're looking at an employer opt-out option, meaning employers with a comparable privately paid program, could be exempted out. However, the new committee sub, employers can apply for a waiver if they offer a comparable benefit leave plan. And then related to taxation and reporting, the benefits are the same, taxable, and employees can choose to have their taxes withheld, similar in this contrary plan. So now if we're looking at it, which bill provides greater benefit? Well, if we're looking at the original plan, it really offers a broad leave of options, like I mentioned, medical, family, safety related, but it also provides longer durations up to 12 weeks. If we're looking at the committee substitute, it places a stronger emphasis on parental bonding and family wellness, but limits the paid leave for 6 weeks, except for new patients. If we're looking at what is better from an economic development standpoint, of course, the committee substitute is more business friendly because it has lower contribution rates, it has less leave duration, and it targets new patients and caregivers more directly and avoiding the long-term workforce disruptions. The original bill, of course, is going to have the contrary benefit for workers, but places a higher cost burden on businesses due to the longer leave durations as well as the higher contribution rates. So if we're looking at the final conclusion of what bill is better from a business perspective, if the goal is a stronger worker protection, then it's the original bill. If we're looking at more of a balanced approach with economic growth and business competitiveness, it's going to be this committee substitute. Looking at and having conversations with a number of folks that are opposed to the legislation, it still does not quite get there. There's a lot of concerns related to the management of the program, the solvency of the program, the size of reach and the businesses that affect. So it's not quite there from a large group of opponents to this legislation. There might be some challenges to this change from those that are supporting of it, because it does broaden the scope and it doesn't have as long as a duration. So it remains to be seen what's going to happen in this committee. Most people are thinking that now, because of these changes, it might pass through onto the House floor, but it remains to be seen what happens today. We all expect a spirited debate, and we also expect Bridget and the rest of the chambers to really voice a lot of concerns that still exist in this effort. There's a competing piece of legislation that was introduced that's more favorable towards the business community, that also has the same effect on protecting and providing the employee with some measures to participate in leave. It remains to be seen how far that bill gets, but there is a competing measure out there. Also, talking about things that are affecting the business community, we've seen an increased proposal for minimum wage that has passed through. We've also looked at, from the hospitality industry, particularly the restaurants, making sure restaurants don't take the percentage of the point of sale out of employees' tips. That is moving through as well. There's some energy related legislation that continues to move through related to the utilities and grid hardening and upkeep maintenance of the system. There's also a measure that provides for low income rates where the utility could petition to the Public Regulation Commission on whether there can be a new rate added to really help those that are struggling here in our state, or those that aren't able to keep up with the payments of their bills. Like I mentioned, there's a lot going on this week. It's going to be interesting to see what happens this afternoon. We are almost halfway through the legislative session. Some of the big things that we've seen related to what Leader Wirth and Leader Skapansky mentioned related to health, safety, and wellness and crime. Both of those have been debated in a number of committees. They've been debated on the floor, and now those measures are crossing over from the House to the Senate related to crime and health, safety, and wellness from the Senate to the House. So those are going to start being heard in the opposite committees too. Rumor is there's still a little bit of work to be done on a lot of those. So the leadership in both chambers and the administration continue to have those discussions to make sure that the people that need to be cared for, our communities need to be safe, and those things are at the forefront. So have a wonderful week. Hopefully that you're able to tune in. Again, that is www.nmlegis.com. ms.gov, where you can take a look at the paid family medical leave and any other measure that is being debated. It also gives you a great insight as to who our legislators are. So if you do feel challenged with some of the policy, particularly a paid family or a minimum wage, it gives you the contact information of who your elected official is. And it's always a great resource too to figure out what's going on. March 22nd is the last day of session. I think for a lot of folks that really live in and around this atmosphere, that date can't come soon enough. But for those that really love the process, that want to get a better understanding of what's going on, it's like camp. Everybody comes to our wonderful nation's capital 30 or 60 days every year to really debate what's important for our communities and our state. So hopefully you tune in next week. We'll see if we have a special guest that might join us. If not, we'll have an update on what happens this afternoon and the rest of the week leading up to next Wednesday. So thank you so much again for tuning in. Thank you for supporting Bridget and the Santa Fe Chamber. Thank you for supporting all the other chambers for that matter, because we're all in this together to make sure that the business community has a loud voice, is educating and moving forward what's important to our members, which is how can we make New Mexico, as great a state as it is, more attractable for those companies that are looking to relocate, that are looking to locate and or expand here in our state. So have a wonderful day, and we will see you next week. Thank you very much. Bye.